We are finishing the section that we started in class yesterday. So this is the day 5 notes, but in your book this would be 8.5, part 2. We're just determining the equation of a line. So we will jump right into examples for today. Your notes have a little bit more information than has appeared on the board, so we can read through those steps together. This says, for the steps, find the slope between the 2 points using the slope formula. So when you're given 2 points, the first thing you want to do is find the m. So we do the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Then we sort of start the process where we started it yesterday. So we plug in the slope, plug in an x value, plug in a y value. It doesn't matter which point you use, they both work for x and y. Just pick one ordered pair and stick with it. That will help you find your b value. Once you have m and you have b, then you can go ahead and write your equation in slope-intercept form, and then we can do some rearranging to go to standard form. So, first thing we need to do is find the slope. And if you forgot how to do slope, I'll write it over here on the board so it's up for a while. To find slope, we do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So y2 was 3, y1 was negative 7, so 3 minus negative 7. On the bottom, we started with this x, x2 minus x1, so 1 minus negative 1. Everybody still with me? Okay, from there, we just do the math. They're both minus a negative. Minus a negative is like a plus. So 3 plus 7 is 10. 1 plus 1 is 2. And then when we simplify that, we get 5. So my m is 5. All right, now we will put the m into slope-intercept form along with one of the ordered pairs. It doesn't matter which one you use. I prefer positive numbers, so I went with this one. If you go with this y, though, you have to go with this x. These are a pair, or these are a pair. You can't like mix and match x's and y's, okay? So if you're doing y2 and y1, or sorry, y2 and x2, you got to stick with that ordered pair, okay? So if you're doing both of them from the back, that's fine. You just got to stick with it. Now we just simplify by doing 5 times 1 and then solve for b. So what is b going to equal? Negative 2. Good. Any questions on how I got m or how I got b? M and b are like the magic tickets. Once you have those, you're just writing it in slope-intercept form. So take m out of y equals mx plus b, put the 5 in, take b out, put the negative 2 in, and you're done with slope-intercept form. Now we want to get it into standard form. So you got to get that x up front. So we'll subtract 5x from both sides. That's negative 5x plus y equals negative 2. What's the problem here? The negative. So you can either multiply everything by negative 1 or divide everything by negative 1. Either way, you're just changing all the signs. Yesterday I wrote it as multiplying. Today I'm going to write it as dividing just to show you that both of the options work. Okay? Any questions? All right, here's B. Same idea. We have 2 ordered pairs that are on the line. We want to write the equation that goes through those 2 points in slope-intercept form and in standard form. All right, so I need to start by finding the slope. To find slope, I'm going to subtract the y's on top, subtract the x's on the bottom. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. When I do the math there, on the top I get -1. On the bottom it's like -2 plus 4, which is +2. Yes?
So would it matter if we did 6 minus 5 and -4 minus -2?
No, that's just not the way I'm going to do it. But yes, as long as whichever ordered pair you started with, you do the, whichever order you did the y's, if you also do the x's in that order, you should get the same slope as we did. Okay? All right, now you just pick one of the ordered pairs and plug it in to y equals mx plus b. Thank you. So I am going to do the 6 and the -4. So I put y, the 6 in for the y, the m in for the m, the corresponding x. So if you start with the 6, you got to go with the -4. If someone else plugged in 5 and then -2, you should get the same b value. Okay? So I have to do -1/2 times -4, which is what? 2. Good. And then when you solve for b, you get 4. All right, we have our m here. We have our b here. Just write out y equals mx plus b. All right, from there, we are going to change it to standard form. What's my first move? Yep, add 1/2 x to both sides. So that gives me 1/2 x plus y equals 4. Now, what's the problem? Yes?
The x is a fraction.
Yeah, you can't have any fractions when you're in standard form. So you have to distribute a 2. So I'm going to multiply each term on both sides by a 2. So 2 times 1/2 is just 1. So 1x, or just x, plus 2y equals 8. What are your questions? All right, here's C. All right, so I need to start by finding my m. What do I need to do to find m? Yes?
3 minus 3 and -4 minus 5.
Very good. I will do 3 minus 3. So y2, y1 over x2 minus x1. What does that give me? 0 over -9, which is 0. Yes, ma'am.
How did you know the difference between if it's going to be 0 or undefined?
If the 0 is on the bottom, your slope is undefined. If the 0 is on the top, your slope is 0. And if you're not sure, if you type in 0 divided by 9 in your calculator, it will tell you 0. If you would type in like 4 divided by 0, it will say syntax error because it's not possible to divide by 0. So the calculator knows too. All right. Now, when you plug all of this information into y equals mx plus b, what do you get for the b?
0.
Nope.
Or 3.
3. Does anyone think they know what the equation is going to look like? Yes.
I mean, y equals 3.
Yeah, y equals 3. 0 is our m. And 0 times x is always going to be 0. And 0 plus 3 is always going to be 3. So this is one of those special lines. This is a horizontal line through the y-axis at 3. Now, can you write that in standard form?
No.
You can. It's just the same thing. So that's why I actually hit the button. I thought it would come up. You should still write standard form, y equals 3. It's just the same thing.
That was going to be my question.
Yes.
You couldn't write it in slope-intercept form, but if you could, would it be the same thing?
It is the same thing. Yep. All right, here's D. All right, what do I need to do? Yes.
5 minus -2 and 4 minus -3.
Very good. So to find m, I'm going to subtract the y's on top, so y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So what's 5 minus -2?
7.
7. It's like 5 plus 2. What's 4 minus -3?
7.
Also 7. And 7 over 7 is
1.
1. Then what?
Plug it in for y equals mx plus b.
Right. Plug it into y equals mx plus b. You can pick which ordered pair to use. Anytime one of the ordered pairs has 2 negatives and the other one has 2 positives, I always pick the positives. I'm just not. I think you lend yourself to errors more when you have negative signs. So it's just easier to use positives. So I am going to plug in the 4 and the 5. So 5 equals 1 times 4 plus b. Solve for b. What do you get?
1.
1. So I have y equals 1x, but when it's 1x, you should just write x, and then plus 1. Questions? All right. How do I get this into standard form? Yes.
Subtract x from both sides.
Subtract the x from both sides. So I'll have negative x plus y equals 1. Then what?
Multiply by -1.
Yeah, you can multiply everything by -1 or you can divide everything by -1. Same idea. We end up with x minus y equals -1. All right, here's E. how should I start? Yes.
-6 minus -3 and 3 minus 4.
Very good. So to find our slope, we subtract the y's on top. So -6 minus -3 over 3 minus 4. Up top, a negative minus a negative. So it's like -6 plus 3. So what do you get up top? -3. On the bottom, 3 minus 4, you're taking away more than you have, so you get a -1. So what's -3 divided by -1? +3 is my slope. What are your questions? All right, we want to plug it back into y equals mx plus b. It's really a coin toss on this one. They both have one negative and one positive, so I just went with the first ordered pair that was there. So the 4, -3, we put the y in front, obviously. So -3 equals 3 times 4 plus b. What's 3 times 4? 12. And how do I get b by itself? Subtract 12 from both sides. You end up with -15 as your b. Once you have m and you have b, you are ready to go. What is this equation in slope-intercept form? Someone besides? No.
Okay.
Someone else. Yes.
Y equals 3x minus 15.
Very good. What next? Yes, ma'am.
You're going to divide 3x by y.
Well, we want to get the x part in the front. So how would you get this guy up here? Yep, so we're going to subtract 3x from both sides. So we have -3x plus y equals -15. And then multiply everything by -1 or divide everything by -1. Either way, you change all the signs, and you end up with 3x minus y equals 15. That brings us to what I believe is the final example. Is that right?
Yes.
And then we get 5 days away. Woo! All right. It's a doozy.
Why is so many facts?
I don't know.
Did you make this?
I did not.
Line?
I did not make this. No, the other algebra teachers did.
Is this going to be on the test?
Let's find the least common denominator of all of them.
Hold on. First, let's just start powering through. Now, honestly, maybe I shouldn't put this on the YouTube channel. I will. Honestly, this is why I told you to get the TI 30 XS, whatever that number is after the 30, because I don't want to do this. So if you have the calculator, use it. I don't know why you would deny yourself those super helpful tools. If you don't have the calculator, you are getting common denominators within a fraction. Okay? The bottom already has common denominators. So 1/2 minus 3/2 is -2/2. That part is easy. Up top, I'm cleaning up the signs, so minus a negative, and I'm getting common denominators. The common denominator between 5 and 2 is 10. So the first fraction you do times 2 times 2, you get 4/10. In the back, you're doing times 5, you get 15/10. Take it another step. I simplified the bottom. -2/2 is -1. You can add your numerator within the numerator, right? Denominator stays the same. Now, the only problem is the calculator is going to make this a mixed number for you. I don't want a mixed number. I need an improper fraction. So you have to hit the second fraction button again, and it makes it improper. Does everybody see that? Okay? And then when you divide 19/10 by -1, you're just making it a negative. So -19/10. If you told me -1 and 9/10, I would mark it wrong. Because slope has a rise and it has a run. It doesn't have a weird whole number in the front. Okay? Denominator, numerator, that's it. No mixed numbers. What?
So will this kind of question be on the test?
Yeah. If we're talking about it in class, it might be on your test. I don't have every question of the test memorized. What are your questions? All right, so now I have my M. Are we good? Whoa. So, I am just going to plug everything in. It doesn't matter which ordered pair you pick. Again, if I can avoid negatives, I'm going to. So I plugged in this for X and Y, -19/10 for the M. So Y equals MX plus B. We multiply 19 and 1, we get 19. 10 and 2, we get 20. Then what?
Add 19 over 20.
Yeah, you need to add 19 over 20 to both sides. When you do that, you also need to get common denominators or use your calculator. Okay? Common denominators here would make it 8 over 20. You'd multiply top and bottom by 4. So 8 over 20, and you end up doing 8 plus 19, which is 27, and then the 20s stay the same. Now you can write it in Y equals MX plus B, where M is -19 over 10, and B is 27 over 20. All right, now we need to work on standard form. How would I start to get this in standard form? Yes, ma'am. Add 19 over 10, X to both sides. So at least I have the signs, right? So that's good. What is the big issue at the moment? The fraction. So I have one with a denominator of 10 and one with a denominator of 20. How can I get rid of all of them? 20. It would need to be whatever the least common denominator would be. Yeah, so you could make this, something over 20. You could not make that something over 10. So the magic number is going to be 20. So you are distributing 20, or here it's just written out as 20 times each term. So up front, this gives us 1 and 2. So 2 times 19 is where the 38x came from. There was no coefficient with the y, so I know there's a 1 there. 20 times 1y is 20y. And in the back, the 20s are going to give you 1s, and 1 times 27 is 27. That was a nice way to end a short week, wasn't it?
It was harmless.
2 days of my life.
Longest 2 days of your life. Okay, what did we learn today? So, yeah, we learned more writing equations. You could put up linear graphs if you wanted to be fancy, but writing equations is enough for me. So I'm going to give you your homework. You have about 18 minutes to do it. And then you have 5 whole days to do it. But who wants to do it in the 5 days? Am I right? So just work hard, respect your neighbors, and get it done.